Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Hey, Are You Still There podcast. This is Mike going solo this week on the Better Late Than Never edition. We had great, ambitious goals of recording a second podcast last week with some of the stories that we teased about. It just never happened. Life is busy. And then this weekend was just nutso, just wall-to-wall stuff going on for both of us. And I had an opportunity to scoot out of town Monday morning. So I did that. So I am actually away right now by myself, recovering from a busy weekend and busy couple of weeks, really. And so Beth is not with me. I'm by myself. So there you go. So let's recap. So this past weekend, we did a thing called Spring Folly. Spring Folly is an event that's held in Kernersville, North Carolina. I believe this may have been its 33rd year or something like that. It's a small town festival. I mean, they shut down Main Street and a couple of the cross streets and things like that, but pretty much a parameter around downtown Kernersville. And you've got everything from one street is a bunch of vendors with homemade goods, crafts and things, jewelry, paintings, whatnot. Another street is completely businesses that are just trying to hawk their product, whether it's gutters or chiropractic or whatever. That's where you're going to go up and down and get all the free goodies like cups and keychains and spin wheels and win prizes and such. Then you have a giant park that's right in the center of our downtown that is nothing but rides, a whole bunch of rides and fair food. And then you got kind of the central area where they have a giant stage where they have music Friday and Saturdays. And that's where a bunch of the food is set up as far as local folks that are selling food organizations. And that's where we are. And so at Project Re3, we were asked a few years ago by the Civitans of Kernersville if we would like to partner with them and start selling pizza at the Folly. The Civitans have had a booth forever. They've sold stuff forever. They've just gotten too few and too old, just to put it bluntly. And they were like, we can't do this anymore. They saw the work that was happening at the Hope Center, specifically our Project Re3 Hope Center. And they came to us and said, would you like to do this as a fundraiser? You help us run it. You keep 100% of the profits. So we've done that I think this is probably our 4th year. And so we did this, our big fundraiser. It's our biggest fundraiser of the year for the Hope Center. And this year was packed. We had really just perfect weather on Friday evening. It was just crazy how busy it was. We made as much money Friday night selling pizzas. We partner with Domino's. We get pizzas at a reduced rate. We sell them, obviously upcharge a little bit and make some money. And we made as much Friday night as we made last year in the whole weekend. I mean, it was the busiest Friday I've ever seen at the Folly. And Beth and I have been going to the Folly. It's been around 33 years. We've been going 26 years. We moved to Kernersville in 2000. Well, I guess 2001 would have been our first year going. So for 25 years, Beth and I have been going to the Folly. And this was the busiest I've ever seen it on a Friday night. Saturday, the weather was a little cool for us, and it was a little cloudy, and it kept looking like it was going to rain. And so the crowds were a little lower on Saturday, especially morning, early afternoon. But then all the clouds went away, the sun came out, and the place got packed again. And so we ended up, for the weekend, made more money than we've ever made for the Hope Center selling pizzas there at the Folly. And so, yeah. So anyway, that was our weekend. So it was a busy Friday and Saturday. You had set up on Friday. You're there all Friday night. Then you're there. It went from 10 to 10 on Saturday. So it was a long, long day. And then on Sunday morning, we had church, of course. That morning, we did a Roathon recap. So we had about 4 or 5 folks that went on the trip that wanted to share. And so I had them come up and I just kind of interviewed them and they answered some questions and told about their trip. And we got to share all about Roatan. And then Sunday night for me was a big night. It was officially the kickoff of what we're calling the Praise and Punchline World Tour. Just to recap, for those of you who haven't been listening and you may be a brand new listener, the 30,000 foot flyover I guess Christmas of 24, Beth for Christmas gave me improv classes, a certificate to go to improv classes. So I took improv classes in 2025, loved it, but man, was it hard. And so it just doesn't fit my skill set. But I found out that the teacher's husband teaches a stand-up class, and that I thought might be a little better. I've always used humor in my sermons, and so I'm kind of used to doing that. I've been standing up in front of people for 30 years. That part is fine. I understand stage presence and how to hold a mic, and I don't really get nervous anymore, that kind of thing. So I thought, I thought, I write sermons. Maybe I can write stories and jokes. And so I ended up taking the stand-up class finally this past winter, spring. It was like February, March. I loved it. It was a 5-week class. I absolutely loved it. Just learned a lot. I think I did pretty well. I got very high compliments from the teacher and the other students in the class. And so we had our graduation show, and I got to close out the show for the students, and it went great. A lot of laughs, and they did a professional recording of it, so it looks good. And so from there, I just kind of put out there, hey, I did stand up. This was a lot of fun. And my friend Taylor Vaden, who's been doing music for 20 years. Now, he's a young guy. He's like 38, but he started playing music professionally when he was 18. So he's been doing music for 20 years. He does Christian music. He does country music. He does Elvis music. The guy is phenomenal. Just an amazing guitarist. One of the best I've ever seen. Just effortless vocals. Just so smooth. He's great. And he's a great dude. Beth and I have known him and his wife for about 10 years. I love them. They're good people. Taylor just randomly was like, hey man, I didn't know you were doing this. We should do a gig together. And the next thing you know, I was opening up for him on April the 4th. So I opened up for him at a big event he was having. It went well. It was my first time ever really performing in front of a group like that. And so that went well, and went well enough that Taylor and I had lunch and said, let's try to see if we can do this. Evidently, Elvis had a comedian that opened up for him a lot, and that was a big thing. And Taylor, being an Elvis fan, always thought that sounded like something that would be really cool to try. And then evidently during the pandemic, Southern gospel contemporary Christian singer Jason Crabb got one of his buddies who's a comedian, and they started going around and doing a comedy music show, and it's blown up. And so Taylor's a big fan of Jason Crabb, and so he was like, between those two influences, Taylor was like, let's you and I try to do this. Let's just see what would happen. So I figured the easiest place, bloom where you're planted. So I was like, you know what? We got Re3 Church. Let's just put together an event. So we put together a Sunday night show. That was this past Sunday. So on the heels of 2 straight days at the Spring Folly, church Sunday morning, that Sunday night, Taylor and I did our first ever, we called it Praise and Punchlines, where I did about a 15 to 20 minute set. And then Taylor got up and did right in an hour of music and storytelling. And it was a blast. It went so well. And everyone who came loved it, and very complimentary. And it just kind of reaffirmed to Taylor and I, we've caught something here. This is lightning in a bottle. We really think that we have something that people want and need. And it's about just bringing joy, really. I mean, Taylor's songs are full of joy. The stuff that he writes personally, the songs he's picked out to play, it's just really good stuff. And it's just about giving people a respite for just a little bit. And so we had just a great time that night, and just thoroughly enjoyed it. And the unique thing to me was we said, kids 10 and under are free. We had about 4 or 5 kids that came, and we had 2 of the families come up and say, our kid, and these are little kids, like these are elementary school kids, like for me, came up and told their parents, I wish he would tell more jokes. He was really funny. So I kind of I know my demographic. I'm not stupid. My demographic is middle class, middle-aged Christians. I mean, that's just it. It's like, that's who's been my congregation forever. That's who I know I can say things that they will appeal to, and granted, that's the sweet spot, but I can hit kind of either side of that. And I talk about stuff none of my jokes are Christian. Like, it's not like I'm not up there telling stories about church or whatnot all my jokes right now, 100% of them are relationship based. It's all about my wife and I, and people relate to that. Whether you're married, have been married, you can relate to the things that I'm talking about. So because of that, I didn't think kids especially would really get into my humor yet. Like I will eventually get into my kids, but I haven't gotten there yet. So for these kids to be like, man, he was funny, I want to hear more of him, Mom and Dad, that meant something. That was like, okay, I haven't even gotten to the kid stories and kids jokes yet. What is my humor like? Like, it's funny, people find out I'm doing this and they'll ask me, they'll say, tell me a joke. I can't tell you a joke. Like, that's not what I do. I don't do knock jokes. I don't do one-liners. If you've ever seen Nate Bargatze or Jim Gaffigan or even Dusty Slade to a point, like they tell stories that have funny moments throughout them. So they're telling a story, and in the story you're getting a punchline, but really a laugh, something about every 10 to 15 seconds, but it's an engaging story and it ends ridiculously. That's what I've done in my sermons. And so, especially Nate, he is my comedy idol. Like I've watched everything he's ever done. I have followed Nate since before he was even big, when he had his very first, very, very, very first Yelled At by a Clown was his first album. I think it came out in 2012. I happened to hear a snippet of it on Sirius XM, on one of the comedy stations. And so I went and listened to it and just fell in love with him. And then after that, his second album was Full-Time Magic. And that was a couple years later, devoured it. And now, of course, he's the biggest comedian in the U.S. and one of the biggest in the world. But he's Christian, right? But it didn't like his jokes, or like he's not beating you over the head with his faith. He just has clean humor. Like, and all his stories are his wife, his daughter, his parents, like his friends. It's all about just everyday stuff that's extremely personal that people can relate to. People aren't going to remember a joke, a generic joke that anybody can tell, but people will remember a story, and they'll be able to connect that. And so that's what I'm attempting to do. So our very first ever Praise and Punchlines went great. It was a nice kickoff to our world tour. So what are some announcements that we teased a little bit? Praise and Punchlines has now a second date. There is a music cafe in downtown Winston-Salem called the Muddy Creek. I think it's called like the Listening Room or something. There's the Muddy Creek Cafe. It's right at Old Salem. But they have a little tiny concert venue that seats like 50 people. And they have booked Taylor and I for an event on June the 14th. So on that Sunday, June 14th, Taylor and I will be at the Muddy Creek concert venue, listening room, cafe. So tickets are on sale. I don't know how much they are, $10 or whatever, but there's only 50 of them. So once they're gone, they're gone. But we will be doing that on June 14th. We've had another pretty large church reach out to us, and they want to bring us in sometime this summer. They want to put together a volunteer appreciation dinner and banquet. They have hundreds of volunteers at their church. They want to recognize all of them, and they want to book Taylor and I for the entertainment that evening. So that's the kind of thing we're wanting to do. So right now we're in the process of getting together a flyer that we can send out, that we can start contacting churches and letting them know that we're doing this. We're also wanting to maybe do some corporate gigs if possible, if anybody needs anything. Because Taylor can do country, he does Elvis. So, granted at the Praise and Punchlines, he's doing everything from his original music to praise and worship, modern day praise and worship music, to old hymns. And it all sounds great. And it's just him on guitar and me with a mic. And it's just the two of us. And it's going well. The really big news, comedy-wise, and this happened while I was in Roatan, and it came out of nowhere. I had a lady message me on the Facebook, and she said, "Hey, I'm putting together a comedy event, and you came recommended." She was like, "Do you have a video you can send me?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I'd taken the 5-minute set I did on graduation night that they professionally videoed. It looks really good. I have that on YouTube. It is not available to the general public. I have it as one of those hidden YouTube videos that only I can see, only I have the link to. So I have to send you the link for you to be able to see it. And I did that because I don't have a lot of material right now. I did 5 minutes at the comedy show. I did 15-ish for Taylor. I think I have about 30 minutes. If I did everything I think I have about 30 minutes. Oh, and then at the Palmetto, I did 15 minutes. So, 15's the max I've gone. And I did some different jokes this past weekend than I did at the Palmetto. So I think all of my stories, jokes combined, I might be able to get 30 minutes out of it right now. So I don't want to put a clip out there that gives away a chunk of what I've got, because I don't want to spoil it for people. So I sent her that clip, and I just asked her some questions. I was like, what date are you looking at? Where is this going to be? How many comedians? And she messaged me back and said, it's going to be at Truist Stadium. Now, in Winston-Salem, we have a minor league baseball team called the Winston-Salem Dash, and they play at Truist Stadium. And I'm like, Truist Stadium? Like, what in the world? And then she messages me and says, do you have an opener? I messaged her back and said, I am the opener. Like, what are you talking about? So then she watched the video, and then she messaged me. She was like, oh, no, you can be my headliner. She was like, you're really funny. She was like, I want you to be my headliner. And I said, well, how long do you need? And she said, an hour. That is Nate Bargatze. That is Dusty Slade. That is Jim Gaffigan. That they do an hour. Like that's like professional. So I think she was asking for a bit much to try to get an hour off of just some amateur comedian, even though it's a paying gig. That's a lot. An hour is a lot. And so I was like, ma'am, I'm sorry. I don't have an hour. I have maybe 30 minutes. That's all I've got. And so, we're doing all this. I've still never physically seen this woman or talked to her. This is all through Facebook Messenger. And she's like, all right, Bo, next time I want you to be the headliner. I was like, all right. So she made me the opener. She said, can you do 30 minutes? I was like, yeah, I'll try to get 25, 30 minutes. So she's like, all right, so what's your rate? And I was like, well, how much have you budgeted? And she said, well, this is what's budgeted for an opener and closer. And I was like, all right, well, I'll take that. That's fine. anything I get paid is going to be better than nothing. But what she's paying me is actually really well. Like, I'm getting paid like, I messaged the owner of the comedy club, the Idiot Box in Greensboro, while this is all going on. And I'm like, you're not going to believe this. This chick has asked me to do this. I don't know what to tell her. I don't know what the rates are. And my teacher was like, oh my gosh, like that's incredible. You need to go for that. And she had already told me, her husband had already told me at one point, like what people get paid if they come and headline there at the Idiot Box. Now, these are touring professionals. They go to a different city every Friday, Saturday, and maybe even Sundays. But they travel around, they do this. I'm getting paid more than they do. Like, this is a nice paying gig. The Praise and Punchlines we did the other night, we sold tickets, and Taylor took a percentage and I took a percentage. And we had already agreed on how we would split it up. And my percentage, again, was more than people make headlining at a comedy club. And so we ain't raking in the dollars. I ain't Nate Bargatze. Beth ain't quitting her job. But I'm just saying, people who do comedy clubs make nothing. I mean, literally, like they make very little. And that's why a lot of these comics talk about they sleep in their car. Like, they'll drive to a city, sleep in their car, do a show that Friday night, drive to another close city, do a show a Saturday night, and then just drive back like 10 hours or whatever it is. Like, they can't, of course, they have to pay for a hotel. And if they paid for a hotel, they would lose money doing these shows. So they try to sleep on someone's couch, they sleep in their car, they do whatever. So God has opened up some doors and blessed me that I'm getting some paying gigs and it's worth my while. So I tried to clarify, what do you mean by Truist Stadium? Like, is this at a Dash game? And she was like, no. And she went and she started to, she said, Dash are out of town that weekend. They have a large club there at the stadium. It's like a luxury box club. It's, I don't know, it might seat 100 people. I don't know how many it seats, but they do food and whatnot. It's for entertaining corporate events and whoever. And so I guess the stadium is wanting to utilize that room whenever there's not a ball game. And so they have about 5 or 6 events planned there this summer. And the first one is going to be comedy night. And so you buy your ticket, you get a meal, and you get an hour and a half of comedy or so. Or yeah, I think she said, I'll go 30 minutes. She got somebody else to headline that's going to do 45 minutes. So I think she's blocked out 2 hours to get in there, eat, have your meal, and then I'll do my thing. And then there's a lady coming in headlining. I don't know her, but she'll be doing the main eventing. So that's it. So, I mean, it's like crazy that I literally in March, I graduated, so to speak, from stand-up comedy school. And I had a gig in April. I have 2 gigs in May. I have 2 gigs in June. So out the comedy school, just from I've already had 5, I'll have 5 events by the end of June that I've done, which I think is pretty good considering I don't know what I'm doing. Now, I said there was 2 events in May, one that I haven't talked about this episode, and I'm not sure if I've talked about it at all, but when I finished the comedy thing, the graduation, the teacher encouraged me to enter what they call the Ultimate Comic Challenge. I believe that's the name of it, UCC, the Ultimate Comic Challenge. They do this every year at the Idiot Box. They take applications, they pick 80 comics, and you go through a series of eliminations. And so I think there's 12 comics per show, and there's multiple shows per round. And they just give you a date and a show, and that's when you've got to show up. You've got 5 minutes, and then that's it. And so what happens is whoever's there that night, it is who it is. Whoever's there that night in the audience at the end of the show, they vote. So if there's they vote for their top 6 comics. So whether there's 10 or 12 comics, they're going to vote for their top 6. The top 6 will move on to the second round, which will be in July. They'll have another round of eliminations. It'll go to the third round in August. And then June is the next one. July is the third round. August is the semifinals. And then the finals are in September. And so it keeps whittling it down to there's I think 2. I don't know. But so he encouraged me to apply. I applied. I got accepted. And so on May 23rd at 9:30 at night at the Idiot Box in Greensboro, I will be performing in the Ultimate Comic Challenge. I do not expect in the least to make it past the first round. I just don't think the demographics of a Saturday night 9:30 show in downtown Greensboro at a comedy club is probably going to fit my humor. And I found this out. I went and did an open mic at the Idiot Box one night, and I felt like I totally bombed just because the people who were there just didn't, it wasn't people who could relate, and I think that's the thing. You got to be able to relate to a comic. And it was a young crowd, a bunch of singles. And so if you're young and single, you're not going to connect with a 50-year-old dude that's been married 28 years and has 3 grown kids. I mean, it's just not going to, it ain't going to work. So that's what I'm fully expecting. I could be wrong, but that's the demographic I'm expecting on a Saturday night at 9:30 at the end of May. So I'm just going to go in. I'm going to do my thing. I feel no pressure because I've got stuff already booked. A few weeks later, I'm going to be doing Muddy Creek. A few weeks after that, I'm going to be doing Truist Stadium. So this Ultimate Comic Challenge proves nothing to me anyway. It doesn't validate or invalidate my gifting or calling to comedy just because it's just different, And so anyway, so I got that going on too. So lots of comedy. I know that was a lot. That was a big update. But like I said, we've had a busy couple of weeks. Beth has some stuff going on in her life that could be major changes that she's been in the process of praying through and working through that I'm sure she'll be able to talk about at some point pretty soon, hopefully. But she's had an opportunity pop up that we just need discernment in. And so she has stuff going on. Jacob's about ready to graduate. I think he's a class away. I mean, wasn't able to get done in time by this spring to graduate from App, but he'll be graduating sometime this year. Maria just finished her sophomore year at UNC School of the Arts. She's out in California right now. Her and her friends wanted to go out and do Star Wars Day. So May the 4th, I'm recording this on May the 5th, Cinco de Mayo, but May the 4th, that's become kind of a Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. And so her and her friends created these costumes and they flew out to California and they're doing some big Star Wars event. I don't really even know what's going on there. And Josh is about to finish his sophomore year of high school. And so life comes at you fast. And so things are moving and moving right along. The other cool thing that happened to me, and this is what else I was going to talk about last week, but we ran out of time. I'm a huge pro golf fan. I love pro golf. I keep up with it. I love watching it. You say what you want about Tiger Woods. He's probably my favorite athlete of all time. I firmly believe when Tiger was in his prime, he was better at his sport than any other athlete has ever been at their sport in their prime. Meaning, I think Tiger was a better golfer than Michael Jordan was a basketball player. He was just unreal. Tiger's made a series of off the course decisions that have been terrible. And his life has crashed because of it. I mean, literally car crashed, but figuratively, divorce, DUI arrest. I mean, just 1,000 surgeries on his body, just where he's broken down. I mean, it's just brutal. But on the course, he's the best. He's the GOAT, literally the GOAT. So I've loved golf. I love watching golf. Growing up, I used to go to an event in Greensboro that was called the GGO, the Greater Greensboro Open. And one of my friends, Kevin, and I, every Wednesday of the GGO would skip school and we'd go to the GGO because that was the Pro-Am. And this is back in the day when the Pro-Am would bring in, like, you'd have your professionals, obviously, but they would bring in major celebrities that would come and play golf. And I had a chance. One of my favorite conversations I ever had at the GGO that I'll never forget is we got to meet Lou Holtz, the legendary coach, coached Notre Dame. I mean, he went on to coach, I think he coached South Carolina, maybe. He's legendary. And Lou came up to us. We were standing beside the putting green, just watching the practice green. And Lou came up and was like, "Ain't you boys supposed to be in school?" Kind of one of these things. And we were like, "Yeah, but we're here, da, 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 da." And he talked to us for the longest time, the nicest guy, and signed some stuff for us. I mean, just amazing. It was just awesome. And some of the golfers I got to meet the late, great Payne Stewart. And we got to meet Payne and talk to Payne, and I got him to sign something for me. And it wasn't too long after that, he died in the plane crash. And so, I'll always remember that. But anyway, I've followed golf forever. I love golf. I'm terrible at golf, but I love it. And so the GGO has evolved through the years. It went from the GGO to the GGCC, which was like the Greater Greensboro, I don't know, championship, something. I don't know what. And then corporate started getting involved, and they moved the tournament from one golf course in Greensboro to another one. And now it's played at Sedgefield Country Club in Greensboro. And it's called the Wyndham Championship. So Wyndham Hotel sponsor it's in August. It's the last tournament before the FedEx Cup. So a lot of times it'll get people now that'll play that want to improve their rankings to try to get into the FedEx Cup. Because if you win the FedEx Cup, you win like $20 million. It's a lot. You win a lot of money. So every golfer wants to be in that. So like last year, Cameron Young, who's already won a couple times on tour this year, who's one of the up and coming, he's the hot golfer right now. He won last year. That was his first victory ever. He won the Wyndham Championship in Greensboro. Oh, so I say all that to say, I never get to go anymore. I haven't been since Beth and I have been married. And it's not because of marriage. It's just because of when it falls. Sorry, I had to take a coffee drink. It's usually around the second weekend in August. And for whatever reason, we always have something going on. Either we have a mission trip, or that's right before my birthday and we're going out of town. It's right before school starts back. And so we would, one last hurrah before the kids went back to school. We were always traveling. We're always doing something. So this year I looked at it and I had nothing planned the week of or the weekend of. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go. And then I was like, you know what? I wonder if I can volunteer at this thing. So I figured out, I went there and it said volunteer stuff opened up, and it opened up the week we were in Roatan. And so I was like, all right, when I get back from Roatan, I'm going to apply to be a volunteer. So when I got back, I sat down at the computer, I filled out a thing, I applied to be a volunteer. They call them committees, but it's about 12 different areas of golf that you can volunteer in. And so I picked about 6 that I thought would be somewhat interesting. Like one of them was food services. I didn't put that. One of them was merchandise. I didn't put that because I didn't want to sell food. I didn't want to sell t-shirts, but I put down other stuff that I thought would be kind of cool. Not knowing, I've never volunteered at an event before. I don't even know what they look at. But the next day they messaged me back. They were like, all right, this is your assignment and these are the days you're going to be working, because you also had to put what days you're available. I'm going to be working the tournament Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I'm going to be working it 5 days. And my job is standard bearer. I didn't even know what a standard bearer was. I had to go look up and say, what is a standard bearer? What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be carrying around the scorecard that has the golfers' names on it and their score as they're played. So they will assign me to a group of golfers, and I will walk with that group for 18 holes, and I'll just be holding up a sign, and it'll say, granted, let's just say Cameron Young's there and Scotty Scheffler. The sign will say Young, Scheffler. Beside their names, we'll have what they're doing, -3 for the tournament, -6 for the tournament, whatever. And after every hole, if there's been a change, I change out those numbers, and then I carry the sign to the next hole. And that's what I do. I just carry a sign for 18 holes inside the ropes with the golfers, walking with the official scorer. I don't even have to keep up with the score. That's the one thing I was kind of worried about. I was like, what if I missed something? But the official scorer comes over to me after they finish every hole and say, all right, this is what they got. This is what they need to be. And I just pull out the numbers, change the numbers, get over to the next hole, and I'm good to go. So, so that's what I'm going to be doing. So the cool thing is I'll get to do that Wednesday during the Pro-Am. So I'll be following around one group of golfers for that. And then Thursday, Friday, I'll be following around a group, and then whoever makes the cut, Saturday, Sunday, I'll be following around those groups. Whenever I finish on Sunday, what I've been told is they let all the standard bearers then go, and whoever the last group is playing, which typically is going to be probably the people that are going to win it, you get to walk with them inside the ropes. So it's going to be incredible. As a golf fan, I can't imagine doing something any better. This is going to be awesome. I get to walk the course. And they said that the golfers will talk to you and hang out with you. And they said at the end of every round, tradition is that the pro golfers will all sign something and give it to you. Some do gloves, some do balls, but they'll sign something and give it to you just as a way of saying thank you. This is going to be awesome. So I had on my Big 12 this year. I wanted to attend a sporting event I've never done before. And I'm going to count this because even though I've been to several PGA tournaments, not just the GGO, I've been to the Masters, I've been to the Ryder Cup, I've been to the PGA Championship, I've been to the Wells Fargo Championship. I mean, I've been to a lot of golf tournaments. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would be walking between the ropes with these pro golfers. And so I'm going to get to do that. So I'm counting that as my thing that I never thought I would do, or try something new. So I am totally stoked about that. So we have that coming up. Yeah. So that's about it for me. I mean, that's, Beth isn't here. I know I've talked a lot for about 40 minutes or so, but, Beth hopefully will be back next week and we can do a deep dive into whatever else has been going on in her life. But that's kind of my big updates and everything I had going on in mine, from our busy weekend to comedy to golf. It's just going to be a cool couple of months and living my best life, I feel like. And so it's been good. So anyhow, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Again, come back next week. We'll have Beth back with us. This has been Mike, and this has been Hey, Are You Still There?